excited about making apple butter. Hopefully this will go a little bit more smoothly than jelly making videos. No boiling pots over or anything like that. Things may get a little loud. My kids are still awake and they're eating a late lunch, so I may have to like take a break, turn the camera off, and go deal with them. We'll see. So let's just jump right into it. My husband has been begging me to make apple butter forever, ever since our last jar ran out. The first time I made apple butter was maybe 2 years ago, I think. We were staying with one of my aunts and uncles. For those of you that know the Bumgarners, it's them, Aunt Mary and Uncle Michael. And my aunt had been blessed with an abundance of apples, like so many apples she did not know what to do with them. She had shared, she'd given some away, and she knew she wanted to try to make some applesauce. But we said, well, let's look up an apple butter recipe. We were staying with them for a couple days, and we ended up finding a recipe on how to make apple butter in the crock pot, and the rest is history. It's so good and so easy, and it's a lot less high stakes and high risk like making jelly is. When you make jelly, if you don't follow the steps exactly, you might have a disaster. Your jelly might not set, all that. Apple butter is very chill. It's very relaxed. So you can use any variety of apples that you like. I used Red Delicious because that was the most budget friendly option when I went shopping this week. I got 2 big 5-pound bags of Red Delicious. Oh, and if it looks like I've got a black eye today, I really don't. I let my kids paint flower pots earlier, and I guess I had paint on my hand and I didn't realize it, and I rubbed my eye and I didn't know till like way later. And Caitlin said, "Mommy, why do you have paint under your eye?" And of course it was like dark blue, so it looks like I've got a black eye, but I don't. I just hope it's gone. I can get it all off before church starts tonight. So anyway, rabbit trail, sorry. Like I said, you can use any kind of apple, any variety of apple for apple butter. I used Red Delicious. If you're wanting to make like a sugar-free variety or less sugar added variety, you could probably get away with using like a Honey Crisp or a really, really sweet apple. And that way you could get away with not having to put any sugar. Check out Pinterest. They have lots of recipes there for doing it sugar-free. I'll show y'all how I got started. Kiddos, be kind and sweet and quiet. I may have to get off in a little bit. So to start, I washed my apples and then I cored and sliced them. You don't have to, okay, sorry, I have my back door open. Well, that's not any better either. Here we go. You don't have to peel them. The first couple batches that I made, I peeled. But then I was looking around on Pinterest and quite a few people didn't peel their apples. So the batch that I made yesterday that I'll be putting in jars shortly, I said, well, I'm just going to try it. So anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, peeling your apples. So I tried it and my blender did fine. We didn't have to worry about any chunks of apple peel. In a minute. So I did not peel my apples. I just cored them and sliced them and put them in my crock pot. A 5-pound bag fills up my crock pot very nicely. Let me turn this around. So I just tossed my apple slices with brown sugar, cinnamon, and allspice. I have no idea the proportions that I used. I'm sorry. I just measured with my heart and did it till it looked right. Probably for figuring purposes, I probably used maybe around 3/4 a cup of brown sugar, a 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon, and maybe around 1/2 teaspoon of allspice. You can get creative with your spices. Some people like to use nutmeg and cinnamon. Some people like to use nutmeg, cinnamon, and cloves. It really depends on what you like. Some people do not like nutmeg. Some people do not like cloves. I've even used pumpkin pie spice before because I was short on everything and it turned out fabulous. But I didn't have nutmeg and I didn't have any ground cloves and I was too lazy to grind. I have some whole cloves, but I was too lazy to grind them today. So I just used cinnamon and allspice and it turned out great. And my quality control officer, Jacob, couldn't tell any difference and he said it was delicious as he smothered his pork chops in it last night. Alright kiddos, y'all gotta be quiet and go. Quit playing in the fridge. Oh boy. So, after you put your apples in the crock pot, I let mine go, I guess it was 8 hours on low. And then I wasn't ready to deal with them yet, so I just cut it on low again and left it for another hour or two. You just want to see, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble focusing. There is so much going on at my house right now. Things did not go as planned. They're very excited about the shipped order because fresh, warm flour tortillas were just delivered. Not right now, no. You just ate lunch. You want your apple slices to be tender, like fork tender, almost like for mashed potatoes. Once they get to that point, they should have had a lot of juice cooked out of them. After they're soft, then you can let them cool if you want. You don't have to. You can either put them in a food processor and puree them, or you can, since I don't have a food processor, I use my blender and I just do it in batches. You may need to get some of the juice out of the crock pot because the apples and sugar will cook out some juice. If your blender's having trouble, you can put some of that juice in there and it'll help it catch up and finish pureeing. And after it's pureed, then I added, I think it was 1.5 teaspoons or 2 teaspoons, somewhere in there. Again, sorry about the measurements, of vanilla extract to it and just stirred it up really well. So that's apple butter. That's all you have to do. It's ready to eat right then. You can keep it in the fridge, I think, for up to 2 weeks, just so long as it's sealed. Or if you want to can it, I'll show you how to can it in just a minute. I'm gonna go get up here and go get my children busy somewhere so they'll quit asking questions and getting me distracted and making me lose my focus. But that's all you have to have for apple butter that you're not gonna can. So after you have pureed your apples and you have them a nice smooth consistency, I will show you what mine looks like. You can see it's very, very thick and smooth and has a really pretty dark color. That's what you want it to look like. And you can see that you really can't see much of the apple peel. I was concerned with blending it with the peel on that there would be big chunks, and there's really not. There's just a few little bitty small ones, and I actually think it looks really pretty. So you can skip that whole step of peeling your apples if you want. So I've prepared my jars. I've got my, now if you're going to can, you're going to need a little bit more equipment than just a crock pot and a blender. You're going to need jars and a jar filler. I've got my lids over here getting hot, and then I also have my hot water bath canner. You have to do a hot water bath to help it seal. Oh, it's getting warm. I've got my water in it already, getting close to boiling, but not quite, because you're going to end up boiling your jars in this massive pot for 10 minutes. Oh, 10 minutes is not that bad. It takes a long time for this to get up to a boil. And then it takes a while. It sounds like it's not very long, but it does take a little while. So, if I can figure out somewhere to get my phone where it'll show what I'm doing, we'll fill the jars. This is a lot more relaxed than trying to fill your jars when you're doing jelly, because you don't have boiling hot liquid pouring everywhere. This is actually room temperature because I made it yesterday and then I just put it in the fridge until earlier I took it out and let it come to room temperature. So you'll just use your jar filler and fill your jars. And if you hear any loud noises outside, it's just my kids who need a nap. They didn't want to cooperate today. You're going to fill these just like you did with the jelly and leave like a 1/2 inch head space. Let me pick it up and show you. Just to the bottom ring on the jar. And then in a minute we'll go back with a knife or a toothpick and make sure there's no air bubbles anywhere. You want to prepare your jars for this just like you did for your jelly. After they're washed, just fill them up with hot water. You really don't have to if your stuff is room temperature or cold, but you just want to be sure you check the edges for any nicks, because if there's nicks, it will not seal. What is it, Libby? Or any little chips or breaks or anything like that, it will not seal. And this is actually, since it's not hot, safe enough that if you have little kids who want to help, they can help you fill the jars. Like I said, it's not nearly as dangerous or high stakes as making jelly is. Can you go tell? So you'll just get your jars filled. And I'm not going to make nearly as big of a mess this time as I did when we made jelly. I'm very excited about this. Oops, that one needs a little bit more. But apple butter is a very easy thing to do, and it's relatively inexpensive. So it makes a great gift if you're wanting to do like gift baskets or something. It doesn't cost an arm and a leg. You can usually get apples year-round, so you're not limited to just making it when apples are in season, because you can get them all year round. And I honestly don't think I've ever met someone who didn't love to get, sorry Libby, who doesn't love to get homemade goodies like jellies and jams and all that, because you can taste the love in it. But you just fill your jars, and it looks like the 5 pounds of apples that I did yesterday is going to give me, looks like 8 half pints. I did the small jars because that way we can use them up before they go bad after they're opened. I don't know how long that'll be. You'll definitely want to keep it in the fridge after you've opened them, but until they're opened, they're safe to store in the pantry. And well, maybe almost 8 half pints. And me.
Is all of that ours?
Yes.
We still have too much jelly.
Well, baby, it'll last us probably the rest of the year. But if you need to fill up a jar, if you're a little short, you can scoop some out of the other jars and just even everything up. Bubby. Tell you what, having a little boy after having 2 little girls is a whole new world. Everything is about loud noises and world domination and volcanoes and loud trucks and sound effects. It's a whole new world. I'm very thankful for my boy, but it is definitely a learning experience. Can you please get me a paper towel?
Yes.
Oh, and these jar lids are going to be hot. That's okay. That's okay. Oh, and you'll also need, after you're finished, when you go to get the jars out of the hot water later, you're going to need a jar lifter of some sort. Thank you, Libby. So now, just like we did with the jelly, just clean up the edges of the jars, and then get the lids are a little hot. And get your lid, put it on, and screw it on just fingertip tight, not super tight, just fingertip tight. And then you just do that for all of your jars. The good thing about apple butter is you don't have to do it all at one time. You can do it in stages, like the apples that I just put in the crock pot today. I will probably finish those tomorrow at some point because we have church tonight. Glass jar. Hey bud, everything is hot. Please do not touch. Oh, almost glass jar. Oops. But it's, like I said, it's easy and it's relatively inexpensive to make because you don't have to have pectin. Sometimes pectin can get a little expensive, but you don't have to have any of that. It's really basic. And there's lots, go play outside. There's lots of recipes on Pinterest for like no sugar added. So if you're trying to watch your intake, it's possible. Okay, so my pot has actually started boiling. I dilly-dallied long enough to make it work. And I'll show you. I'm gonna set the jars on this wire thing, but I don't think I can hold my phone and set them in at the same time. So I'll show you in a minute after I get them. So,
how many years will it eat?
It'll be good. It'll be good for a couple years.
Yummy. We can have fruit chops every night.
Oh, I don't know about every night. Our little foodie is very excited about anything to do with food. She loves.
I love sushi.
She loves sushi. She loves all kinds of
yummy food.
interesting, weird food. So I was
like orange chicken.
I was able to get all 8 of the little jars in here.
Can I see mine?
Just a minute. So they're all in there. Now I just gotta carefully set the rack down. Whenever you put it in your hot water bath, you want to make sure that the jelly jars are covered by an inch of water. A lot of times if you're hot water processing, in the recipe it will tell you how much water to put, but I'll show you. But you can see there's right at about an inch covering it. So I'm going to leave it like this and put the lid on it, and whenever I hear it, I'll hear it come back to a full rolling boil, but I'll lift the lid and double check, and once it comes back up to a boil, I'll set the timer for 10 minutes. After it's had a boiling hot water bath for 10 minutes, then I'll turn it off and let it sit for about 5 minutes, and then I'll take them out to let them cool. And then, just like with the jelly, as the jars seal, you'll start to hear little happy popping sounds. They shouldn't need any help to seal. So I'll come back later after I pull them out and show you what they look like. So, yay! Okay, so I'm back. My apple butter is ready to come out of the hot water bath. I will show you. It turned out really pretty. I'm really excited. Let me turn this around. So I'm getting it out. Now, whenever you do a hot water bath, whenever you take it out, it's going to look dusty. And that's normal. You didn't do anything wrong. You just clean them up later. And of course now my kids who have been quiet for the last 10 minutes decide to start being loud. So I'm sorry, just bear with me. So I'm just going to reach in because the water is still really hot, and just use your jar lifter, drain the water off the top, and set it back down. And that's all there is to it. Once things dry, then I will clean them up real good and get like all the little dusty stuff off. It's just like, it's just minerals and things from the water. Oh, and it's starting to thunder. Maybe I'll get to have my coffee with a nice rain shower and I can listen to the rain hit the tin roof on my porch. This sounds great. But anyway, if y'all have any more questions, I'll try to answer them. Just comment either here or on the other videos if I left something out. And once everything gets all cool and dry, I'll post a picture of the finished product. But thank y'all for hanging out with me this afternoon, and hopefully it all makes sense. And as distracted and unfocused as I was, hopefully you aren't confused. But I will make a post with approximate measurements on what I use since I really didn't have a recipe, just for you to use as a guide. Also, I encourage you to look on Pinterest, because Pinterest will have a recipe with like actual measurements, probably a lot more clear than I am. But it's really easy and it's really fun, and if you make some, please post pictures in this group and let me know how it turns out. I would love to see it. So y'all have a good afternoon, and hopefully the weather is nice where you are and all that. Talk to y'all later.